The 1970s gave us more than hits, they gave us heart. This was the decade where soul met funk, and R&B albums weren't just collections of songs. These 15 R&B albums didn't just top charts, they transformed music history. Number 15, Solid by Ashford and Simpson. The couple that made soul shimmer.
We build it up, and build it up, and build it up, and now it's solid!
By the time Solid landed in 1979, Nicholas Ashford and Valerie Simpson were already soul royalty. Having penned Motown classics for Marvin Gaye and Diana Ross, their own artistry had matured into something smooth, vibrant, and joyfully grounded.
The thrill is still
Released on Capitol Records, Solid brought lovers' anthems and quiet storm grooves into the spotlight, just as disco's glimmer began to fade. Behind its rich harmonies and steady grooves lies a story of resilience.
build it up, and now it's solid!
Ashford and Simpson recorded this during a transitional moment in R&B, where synths met strings and songwriting fought to stay honest. The title track, Solid, became a wedding staple, but the deeper cuts like Out of the World carried emotional layers that were easy to miss on first listen.
Solid! That's real solid as
You can almost picture the candlelit living rooms, the hum of a turntable needle dropping, a couple swaying slowly in the soft light. Solid wasn't flashy. It was foundational, and its influence seeped into the DNA of 80s R&B balladry. If Solid was the sound of enduring love, this next record took the ache of heartbreak and turned it into slow-burning funk. Number 14, Let's Do It Again by the Staple Singers, Gospel Grit Goes Cinematic.
do it, let's do it again.
In 1975, the Staple Singers teamed up with Curtis Mayfield and director Sidney Poitier to create the soundtrack to Let's Do It Again, a film about love, boxing, and second chances.
Sweet breeze in the summertime, feeling your sweet face.
But what they created went beyond film music. It was a groove-laden masterpiece. Released on Curtom Records, this album blended streetwise cool with deep-rooted gospel warmth. Curtis Mayfield wrote and produced the entire record, layering his socially conscious style with the Staple Singers' familial harmonies.
Do it again, do it.
The title track hit number 1 and on both R&B and Billboard Hot 100 charts, making it one of their biggest crossover hits. But tracks like New Orleans and Big Mac hold that delicious 70s funk edge rarely heard on mainstream radio. You can practically feel the polyester suits, the steam from a sidewalk soul food joint, the quiet pride of black excellence blooming in every bar.
Do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again.
Let's Do It Again was a celebration and a statement without shouting. And just ahead, a sultry record that turned whispers into chart toppers. Number 13, Rejuvenation by The Meters, New Orleans funk at its rawest.
Giving everybody in the world the blues.
1974's Rejuvenation didn't just groove, it swaggered. The Meters were already NOLA legends when they dropped this album under Reprise Records, but Rejuvenation took their street corner syncopation and cranked it up to revolutionary levels.
Getting high, yeah, and the fuel is getting low.
With Alan Toussaint at the production helm, the band fused funk, R&B, and rock into something entirely their own. Just Kissed My Baby sounds like a humid night rolling through the bayou with the windows down. Sweaty, seductive, unstoppable. Even the Rolling Stones were fans.
People say,
Mick and Keith would later invite them to open tours. What's wild is how many hip-hop legends like Public Enemy and Ice Cube dug into Rejuvenation for samples, making it one of the most influential albums in Crate Digger history. But back in '74, It was just raw, greasy funk with a conscience and a kick.
Good God, the real thing. Got no time to waste.
Up next, we slow the tempo, but not the power, with a masterpiece made for quiet storms and deep reflection. Number 12, Donny Hathaway, self-titled, A Voice That Trembled with Truth.
I'm gonna stop you from saying goodbye.
Donny Hathaway's self-titled 1971 album wasn't his debut, but it was a declaration. Released by Atco Records, this project followed Everything Is Everything.
Take your soul if you let them. Hey.
And showed a man peeling back layers, diving deep into pain, hope, and humanity. The opening track, Giving Up, stretches nearly 7 minutes, and every second is a masterclass in soul agony. Hathaway's voice doesn't sing so much as testify, quivering, pleading, reaching through the vinyl.
Still holding your hand.
Songs like A Song for You and Little Girl painted portraits of Black life not just in struggle, but in intimacy and quiet resilience. Recorded during a period of personal turmoil, the album feels like Hathaway offering his diary. There's no filler, just feeling. It's the kind of record you play alone, lights low, heart cracked open. He never reached the commercial heights of peers like Stevie or Marvin, but for many, Donny Hathaway remains untouchable in emotional depth.
Hey, don't you let them.
And if that was a heartbreak soul, this next record is pure joy with a revolutionary edge. Number 11, War by War, the funk-fueled fusion that lit up Los Angeles.
Crying in the night.
In 1971, Under the Moon, War wasn't just a band name. It was a warning, a promise, and a groove. The album All Day Music, released on United Artists Records, was the group's coming of age. It showcased their multiracial lineup and cross-cultural blend of Latin percussion, jazz brass, and funk rhythms. This was the record where War found its identity.
Down the street.
Slipping into darkness, fused blues and Afro-Cuban beats into something hypnotic, while the title track, All Day Music, captured the laid-back sunshine of Southern California with a hint of social unrest beneath its breezy melody. They weren't just making music. They were soundtracking the lived experience of urban America. Its joy, in day and its tension, its wild nights and weary mornings. The album became a massive hit, staying on the Billboard charts for nearly a year. It influenced everyone, from Santana to Cypress Hill. You can still feel it in block party speakers and backyard barbecues. And just ahead, a criminally underrated queen of soul drops an album that still deserves louder praise. Number 10, Young, Gifted in Black by Aretha Franklin, soul royalty's boldest crown. By 1972, Aretha Franklin was already the queen of soul. But with Young, Gifted in Black released on Atlantic Records, she didn't just sing, she soared. Inspired by Nina Simone's anthem, Aretha crafted an album that celebrated Black identity, pride, and resilience during a turbulent era. Backed by the Muscle Shoals rhythm section and her own dynamic arrangements, Aretha delivered not only the hit Rock Steady, but powerful renditions of A Brand New Me and Daydreaming. Every track blends elegance with edge, her voice a velvet sledgehammer breaking through boundaries. The album earned her a Grammy and became a touchstone for soul music as a tool of empowerment. And in 2019, it was selected for preservation in the National Recording Registry. That's proof Aretha wasn't just making hits, she was documenting history. if that was a call for pride and power. What comes next is a spiritual awakening wrapped in sound. Number 9, Backstabbers by the OJs.
They do. They smile in your face. All the time they wanna take your place.
Betrayal never sounded so smooth. When Backstabbers dropped in 1972, the OJs transformed from regional hitmakers into Philly soul icons.
Smiling in your face. All the time they wanna take your place. The backstabbers.
Under the guidance of Gamble and Huff at Philadelphia International Records, the trio delivered an album that was sleek, lush, and emotionally explosive. The title track is Unforgettable. Those opening piano notes feel like a noir film unraveling in slow motion, and when Eddie Leverett cries out, "What they do?" it's pure drama.
Body's out to get your lady. A few of your buddies, they shot.
But Backstabbers was more than a single. Love Train became a global call for unity, while 92 Arguments and Time to Get Down layered orchestration with grit. This album defined the Philly sound: cinematic strings, driving bass lines, and socially aware lyrics under a velvet groove. You can almost see the flared suits and feel the parquet floors of a 70s basement party. And for a generation, this record taught that soul music could dance and deliver truth in the same breath.
Got my back. What they do? They smile in your face.
Next, a pioneering woman took control of her destiny and rewrote the rules of funk. Number 8, Come Into My Life by Minnie Riperton.
Do you wanna ride inside my love?
The voice that soared beyond octaves. Minnie Riperton's 1977 album, Come Into My Life, often gets overshadowed by Perfect Angel and the mega hit Lovin' You.
Two strangers, not strangers.
But this release, under Epic Records, reveals Riperton at her most fearless and fully formed. Released just 2 years before her tragic passing, it's a testament to strength, femininity, and unshakable artistry. Here, she blends her signature 5-octave vocal range with funkier, more experimental arrangements.
You can see inside me.
Adventures in Paradise floats like incense, while Simple Things and Here We Go explore motherhood, love, and identity with grace and edge. The production with husband Richard Rudolph and Stevie Wonder's collaborators is rich and layered. You can hear her legacy whisper through artists like Mariah Carey and Erykah Badu.
You come inside me. Do you wanna ride in?
But Come Into My Life remains one of those albums that true fans hold close. A deep cut that deserves its flowers. And if Minnie was the whisper of soul, this next album was the roar. Number 7, Bustin Out of L7 by Rick James.
Be on the lookout for Rick James. Rick James and the Stone City Band. They're bustin' out.
When punk met funk in platform heels. By 1979, Rick James was kicking down genre doors. With Bustin' Out of L7, released through Motown's Gordy label, he fused rock, R&B, and street funk into a wild, swaggering sound that turned heads and moved hips. This was no quiet revolution. It was a neon-lit riot. From the moment Bustin' Out on Funk kicks in, you know this isn't your older cousin's soul record. Synths sizzle, bass lines strut, and Rick delivers every lyric with theatrical flair. High on Your Love Suite and Spacey Love stretch funk into sensual, spaced-out territory, while Love Interlude gives us a peek at his softer, seductive side. Rick James wasn't just creating a new sound, he was creating an attitude. His His music embraced rebellion, identity, and self-expression, influencing everyone from Prince to Bruno Mars. And Bustin' Out still sounds like a party on the edge of a riot. But just when the funk got loud, one man asked a quiet, powerful question. Number 6, Here, My Dear, by Marvin Gaye.
God gave to both of us.
The Divorce album that became a masterpiece. Released in 1908, Here, My Dear was born out of bitterness and transformed into brilliance.
Show was fine, pretty little thing.
After a messy divorce from Anna Gordy, sister of Motown founder Berry Gordy, Marvin Gaye agreed to hand over royalties from his next album to her. So he made this, a brutally honest, emotionally raw double LP released under Tamla Motown. What started as a legal obligation turned into one of soul's most daring confessions.
That's when I decided I wanted to marry you.
When did you stop loving me? When did I stop loving you? Aches with vulnerability, while Anger and Is That Enough blend social commentary with personal grief. It was part diary, part therapy, all genius. Initially misunderstood and underappreciated, the album has since gained legendary status. You can almost feel Marvin alone at the piano, cigarette smoke swirling, pouring heartache onto tape.
You, right then and there, this is where I wanted.
Today, Here, My Dear is studied, revered, and deeply felt. Proof that even pain can be poetic. If Marvin gave us sorrow, this next album gave us celebration with a side of sass. Number 5, Caricatures by Donald Byrd and the Blackbirds.
We just a dance band. We like to make stand.
Jazz school funk gets funky. When jazz legend Donald Byrd formed the Blackbirds with his Howard University students, no one expected a full-blown R&B revolution. But in 1906, Caricatures proved that musical education and street-level funk could coexist and thrive.
We want to make you move.
Released on Fantasy Records, the album blends tight jazz chops with R&B grooves and a youthful spirit. Rock Creek Park became an underground classic, a smooth, funky instrumental ode to DC park life that hip-hop producers would sample endlessly. Tracks like Love So Fine and Happy Music sparkle with layered percussion, Rhodes keys, and bass lines that bounce like joy on a summer night.
We like to get down.
You can almost hear this album spinning in a wood-paneled basement rec room, lava lamp glowing, and someone busting out a two-step. Caricatures didn't need big names. It had big vibes. And it helped open the door for more jazz-funk hybrids that would dominate late 70s playlists.
We like to make stand.
Coming up next is a soul legend who turned vulnerability into velvet. Number 4, Secrets by Gil Scott-Heron and Brian Jackson, the poet's most melodic protest.
Pictures in your favorite magazine, Spanish sisters.
In 1978, Gil Scott-Heron, already known for hard-hitting spoken word pieces like The Revolution Will Not Be Televised, took a softer, more melodic turn with Secrets, alongside longtime collaborator Brian Jackson.
Well, there ain't nothing folks won't buy new fuel to fire up.
Released on Arista Records, this album didn't dilute his message, it refined it. Here, the duo leaned into warm, jazz-infused funk, letting the groove carry the weight of the words. Angel Dust is a chilling look at the drug epidemic, wrapped in Muttery Rhodes keys and an irresistible bass line.
Said tuna to the chicken of the sea. You are surrounded and
Angel Dust ain't worth the fuss. He sings with a weary elegance that cuts deeper than any lecture. Tracks like 3 Miles Down tackled mining disasters, while Madison Avenue pointed fingers at corporate manipulation. What makes Secret special isn't just its political pulse, it's the intimacy. You feel like Gil's in your living room, laying bare the world's wounds with a poet's touch and a friend's voice.
And don't wake up to the uselessness.
His work continues to echo in artists like Kendrick Lamar and Common. If this was consciousness wrapped in soul, what comes next is a forgotten jewel by a woman whose voice could shake the heavens. Number 3, The Devil in Me by Millie Jackson. Unfiltered emotion, full throttle soul. Millie Jackson never held back, and in 1977's The Devil in Me, released via Spring Records, she delivered one of the most fearless, genre-bending albums of the decade.
Last part I threw in there, that's called a double clutch.
Part soul, part funk, part spoken word confessional. This was Jackson at her rawest and most relatable. Side 1 is pure fire. All the Way Lover kicks things off with her signature monologue-style delivery, mixing humor, heartbreak, and honesty like no one else.
But it's all right, with the pillowcase over his head, get it anyway.
By the time Angel in Your Arms comes around, you're not just listening, you're living her story. And then there's This Is Where I Came In, where the vulnerability punches right there through the groove. Millie broke ground for future bold women in music like Mary J. Blige, Beyonce, and Cardi B. Yet her name often gets left out of the conversation. The Devil in Me is proof she should be shouted out every chance we get. If that was Fire and Fury, this next one is a masterpiece whispered through the chaos of a broken America. Number 2, To Be Invisible by Curtis Mayfield, the quiet scream for justice.
Well, that seems nice for me, so privately.
Curtis Mayfield gave the revolution a soundtrack, and with To Be Invisible in 1967 released on Curtom Records, he turned down the volume without losing an ounce of power.
Must behave myself for somebody else who may have
Often overshadowed by Superfly or Roots, this underappreciated album is one of his most intimate and haunting works. It doesn't shout, it haunts. It hums with sorrow, hope, and defiance. The title track, a slow, mournful ballad, is a cry for the unseen and the unheard.
through, right on through me to have missed.
Curtis's falsetto floats like smoke through the mix, fragile yet firm. Kung Fu brings sly, satirical funk, while Hard Times leans into melancholy, reflecting the country still grappling with injustice and disillusionment post-Vietnam and post-Watergate. What sets this album apart is its restraint. Mayfield was always a master storyteller, but here, he's whispering truth through trembling strings and subtle groove.
What you can get, sure can make a heart upset.
You can almost hear the static of a record player in a dim apartment, the weight of the world pressing in, and Curtis offering just enough light to get you through. And now, the crown jewel. The #1 R&B album from the 1970s that didn't just change music, it changed everything. Number 1, What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. The question that still echoes.
Oh, what's going on? What's going on?
When Marvin Gaye walked into Hitsville, USA in 1970 with an idea for an album about war, poverty, and the planet, Motown didn't know what to do with him. They wanted love songs. Marvin wanted truth.
Take it south, punish me.
And when What's Going On finally hit in 1971, it didn't just shatter expectations. It created a new blueprint for what soul music could be. From the opening title track to the closing notes of Inner City Blues, Make Me Wanna Holler. This album is a seamless song cycle. an opera of sorrow and hope painted in lush orchestration, heavenly harmonies, and quiet rage.
To bring some understanding here today.
Mercy, Mercy Me, The Ecology, and Save the Children still cut deep today. Each song feels like a sermon, a lullaby, and a protest all wrapped in one. You can almost feel the city lights flickering through smoky glass. Hear soldiers' boots returning home to silence. See Marvin, headphones on, heart wide open, pleading into the mic. It was a protest. It was poetry. It was a prophecy.
What's going on, baby?
What's Going On didn't just change R&B, it changed music. Full stop. From the smoky grooves of Gil Scott-Heron to the heartbreak hymns of Donny Hathaway. These 15 R&B albums from the 1970s weren't just soundtracks. They were lifelines, lessons, and love letters to Black life and beyond. Thanks for joining us on this soulful journey through forgotten gems and timeless masterpieces. Subscribe to keep the groove alive and never miss our next stroll. Up next, we're diving into top 15 underrated 80s R&B bands who deserve more fame. Click it and let's keep the rhythm rolling.